I think that most people will agree if I say that this is the best Batman in live action films. But the same cannot be said about the movie. It suffers from muddled plot lines, characters lack strong motivation, while resolutions are hard to swallow. Worst of all, the movie focuses more on setting up the cinematic universe and less on coherent storytelling. But that appears to be the trend now. Great storytelling seems to have taken a backseat to satisfying fanboy boners.
It's all true. All of it.
This makes me revisit Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight with renewed reverence. Despite being a sequel, The Dark Knight holds up as a standalone film. Nolan effortlessly blends mainstream entertainment with broad philosophical themes. For more than 60 years, it was hard for superhero films to find consistent success, let alone garner respect. The release of X-Men and Spider-Man revived the superhero genre. Their sequels improved upon their origin stories and delivered a wittier and more mature adaptation of these characters, especially Spider-Man 2. To explore the origins of the Caped Crusader, Nolan chose a grim and dark tone. 3 years later, The Dark Knight built upon the psychological conflicts developed in the first film. The audience instantly related to the film, partly due to the great performances by the cast and in parts due to its realistic contemporary setting. Unlike many Marvel characters who live in real American cities, Batman resides in Gotham. Over the years, this has allowed comic book artists to explore multifaceted versions of the city. In live-action films, the rendition ranged from Burton's nightmarish Art Deco to Schumacher's over-stylized architectural model. In Batman Begins, Gotham appears as a large, modern city with a murky and foreboding atmosphere. In the sequel, the city looks cleaner and brighter. This clean look helps us identify with the city much better. Its streets resemble the ones we walk on. This grounded and realistic Gotham intensifies the personality of its new criminal. Like Batman, the Joker is devoted to strong principles, except at the opposite end of the ethical spectrum. For Batman, it is fighting injustice, whereas for the Joker, it is creating chaos. Both exist outside the shared morality of the police, citizens, and criminals. Yet, in this game of moral extremism played by Batman and the Joker, it is the Joker who goes farther to validate his ethical position, endorsing actions over consequences. Unlike Batman, the Joker does not possess a symbolic identity beneath his makeup. In fact, Nolan creates a clear contrast between the mask and the makeup. Batman conceals his identity under his makeup. With Joker, his makeup is his identity. This explains his lack of attention to his makeup when it starts to come off. He's not worried because he has no alternate identity to hide.
No matches on prints, DNA, dental, clothing is custom, no labels. Nothing in his pockets but knives and lint. No name, no other alias.
Speaking of which, you know how I got these scars?
The Joker provides an account of his facial scars on 2 occasions. The first explanation is shot entirely in close-ups, which enhances authenticity. But it's a trick. Later in the film, when he provides a conflicting explanation, it is shot in a circular tracking shot. This shift in film form creates an imbalance, underlining the lack of seriousness in this version of the story. From here on, it becomes harder to believe in anything the Joker says. The Joker's appeal can be explained through his dramatic articulation of nihilism and existential despair. Despite our knowledge of him being an agent of chaos, we believe him when he says,
"When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other."
This brings us to the major theme of the film, deception. It turns out that all the so-called good characters in the story are constantly lying to each other. In the scene when Dent inquires about Batman, Nolan frames Dent against a bright glass wall, establishing him as Gotham's White Knight. On the other hand, Gordon is framed against bookshelves soaked in shadows. This accentuates Gordon's protective attitude towards Batman, ever present but not always defensible. This is the first time in the movie a character lies or hides information. Later on, Bruce Wayne hides the spying sonar system from Fox, saying,
Lucius, I'm playing this one pretty close to the chest.
Gordon feigns his own death to capture the Joker.
We got you, you son of a bitch.
Harvey lies to the press, claiming he is the real Batman.
I am the Batman.
and Alfred hides the truth about Rachel from Bruce. But the biggest and the most important of all lies is told by Batman.
They must never know what he did.
5 dead. 2 of them cops.
I killed those people. That's what I can be.
No, you can't. You're not.
I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be.
Batman designs this lie to maintain people's trust in the legal system.
Because sometimes truth isn't good enough. Sometimes people deserve more. Sometimes people deserve to have their faith rewarded.
This is not a new concept. The idea of authority figures lying to maintain order among people is borrowed from Plato's Republic. The Republic, which is a dialogue between Socrates and other Athenians, deals with the societal as well as the individual notions of justice that leads to building an ideal nation. In the third book of the Republic, Socrates presents an idea called the noble lie. It states that to maintain harmony among people, the ruler must devise a lie that will help inspire feelings of brotherhood and patriotism. Socrates clearly believed that societies benefited from unifying belief systems. Whether those belief systems were true or false was irrelevant. Until this point in the book, Socrates appears to value truth above all else. Clearly, the health and security of the state hovers a little above truth. The interesting conundrum in The Dark Knight is that it doesn't deal with the typical good versus bad theme. The Joker might be a murderous psychopath, but he's also relentless in his pursuit to show society its true colors. Batman's decision to take the blame for Harvey's death shows that he doesn't trust people with the truth. Batman decides to ignore that the same people, when put to test, did act ethically. For better or worse, Batman, like an authoritarian, decides what people should and shouldn't know. Which begs the question, does the structure of a stable society need a foundation of lies and myths? Philosophers like Plato and Chanakya to Machiavelli and Strauss have been discussing the idea of noble lie for thousands of years. With The Dark Knight, Nolan is inviting us to be part of this ongoing discussion. By doing so, the film works beyond its plot and visual spectacle. Its characters leap from the pages of comic book and tries to uncover the truth we all are happy to ignore. And that's what makes it so great. Great movies are great not just because they tell great stories with technical panache. They are great because they transcend the boundaries of story in space and time to reach our core nature. They are great because they continue to hold a mirror up to ourselves. Great movies constantly examine who we are as human beings and where we are headed. Great movies delve in one story at a time, while exploring the truth of a lifetime.
So what you're doing is training the eye and the heart to look at a film in a different way by asking questions and pointing to different ideas, different concepts, suggestions. You're training them to think about a story that's told to you in visual terms in a different way and to take it seriously. This is why it's so important, I think, because so much of today's society is done visually and even subliminally for young people that it could be dangerous. And one has to know it's a very, very powerful tool.